It's good to see you today. Welcome back, or welcome if you're new. My name is Vix, if you didn't already know, and this is my channel, Goddess of Gore, where I like to talk about horror, thriller, fantasy and sci-fi books. Today I want to tell you about all of the books I read last week. That's the last day of April till the 6th of May. And I think I did rather well, although some might say I started a little slow. Shall we just get on with the books? First of all, I finished the Witcher book, The Blood of Elves, and this was the last of the April books from my TBR, so there will be a roundup of the month coming very soon. I quite enjoyed having a proper full story from Andrzej this time, rather than the short stories that we have been getting so far. If you don't know, I'm taking part in the year of The Witcher with a couple of months off dotted here and there throughout the year, reading the books in order. This is the third book, and like I said, it was the first full-length novel. This book follows Ciri, the princess, child of destiny, rather than Geralt, although he does take a minor role in her education, having raised her, protected her and trained her as a witcher, but suspecting her skills would be better suited to Triss, the sorcerer, for some further education. Triss, however, becomes sick and unable to control Ciri's powers and pleads with Geralt to entrust her to his occasional lover, Yennefer, who is more powerful than Triss. So she starts her sorcerer training at the temple school under the watchful eye of the priestess Nenneka. Ciri is sought after by some very powerful mages, and it is decided that she can no longer stay at the temple, and so Yennefer and Ciri, as well as some decoys, set out on a new adventure. Obviously there's lots of things going on in between all of this, including some pretty cute dialogue between Yennefer and Ciri, which reminded me very much of Maleficent and Aurora in the Maleficent Disney film. Anyway, that finished April. Now I could begin with my May reading completely. I put all of the book titles, including a few extras for fun, in this little jar, and I thought I would change things up a bit to the way I decide what I'm going to read each time for the month, so just by randomly pulling some of them out the jar. And as you can see, I've pulled out a few already, so not including Lord of the Rings and not including Jawbone, because I explained about Jawbone, because I am reading a chapter a day of Lord of the Rings with my son, and Jawbone, I'm still not really sure about it for a book club. The first one I pulled out was Wyngraf Issue 1. This is a collection of cosy short fiction fantasy, and I got this on ebook. There were a couple of stories that I really enjoyed and some I didn't quite care so much about, and they were short story number 1, The Perils of Living with Your Human by Nathan Slem. This was a cute, nice little story about an albino dragon who is almost a support animal for a girl who suffers from nightmares since her father died. She had had the dragon since a war, but now they seem to need the other just as much, except the townsfolk and the sister hate the dragon. The poor thing can't do a thing right, so she, the dragon, whose name I can't really remember, goes and gets a delivery that would have taken the sister a week to get, just to try and be really helpful and maybe break the ice a little. It only took a day flying and accidentally damages a bit of the fabric while carrying it with their claws. The dragon is forced to apologise just to keep the peace, and the sister actually softens towards the dragon, but I really felt so sorry for the dragon in this story. She really couldn't cut a break in this story, and the fact that she had to grovel to the sister, who really was such a bloody madam, it really broke my heart. The next one I enjoyed was The Road to Falmark by Natasha Inwood. Nia and a young apprentice boy, Pim, adventure through a wild country during winter, from a city to a village to begin their learning. The weather and the creatures are just against them. So while they seek shelter from the freak frozen winds and snow, they come across a cave with a fire apparently abandoned, until they hear the mighty roars of a cave bear approaching. Also, What We Buried by J.A. Prentice. Ash has just buried his father when he sees three dwarves approaching his newly inherited cottage. They want to see Master Ing, but Ash tells them he's dead. They need his help with an underground problem that his father had once sorted and chained up to keep at bay, but it has somehow managed to escape and screams at the top of its voice. These screams affect the dwarves, where you start bleeding from your nose and your ears and your eyes, but Ash says he can't help, he isn't magical. So they go to leave without him, presuming he's just making excuses and he doesn't really want to help. He considered staying, but having a look around, what did he have left? He had to deal with the grief of his father, and so he joins the dwarves back to their homes underground to help with this monstrous thing that is killing the dwarves, that his father once helped them with so many years ago. The next few stories I wasn't too taken with, and then I read Vigil by Nathan Webb, and this was my favourite from the whole collection. It was about two best friends, Feining and Belliet, and the story opens in Belliet's bakery that isn't particularly thriving. Feining is finally getting her first dream job as a messenger for the city, and as a cadet she has no say in her first posting, so when she gets the letter to say that it's in Ricketts Head, which she hasn't got a clue where it is, so she has to then consult the maps, she discovers it's in the middle of nowhere, a million miles from her home. She is so sad to be leaving her friend behind. As a messenger assigned to her new job, she has to carry candle after candle to Ricketts Head without letting the flame burn out before getting the next one at the next town and the next and the next. And so it becomes a kind of time trial and so on. She faces some tough, close moments as she wants to quit a million times during the hard nights and extreme weather. So, partway, she meets a little fox who seems to want to help guide her to the village of Ricketts Head. As time goes on, she suffers from severe hunger pangs, and she opens her bag one day to find some buttery bakery delights that her friend has baked her as a goodbye gift. But she just outright refuses to eat them, as it is the last item to remind her of her home and her best friend and her old life. But inevitably she succumbs to the hunger pangs. When she actually gets to Ricketts Head, she is so welcomed by every villager that she immediately feels like she is home. But she does admit to the spokesperson, you know what this place needs? A bakery. This was a wonderful collection of some real cosy fantasy from some amazing new authors. And if you did want to dip your toes into the cosy world, you could get your taster with this collection. And then in my reading of Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, if you can forgive this cover, because I do have a big hardback vintage book, but I can't find it. So yeah. What's happened so far in this book? Bilbo has had a party and he's reluctantly given up his ring. Gandalf is shocked when he calls it his precious ring, and it would seem that Gandalf does not trust himself to even touch this ring. Bilbo leaves the Shire the day after the party, leaving Frodo to sort out his will and his belongings to be given away. He's definitely not coming back to the Shire then. Gandalf visits Frodo and says he will return very soon. He just has something to do first. He urges Frodo to leave the ring on the mantelpiece in the envelope and not to wear it. When Gandalf returns to Bank End, his suspicions about Bilbo's ring are seemingly true. The ring has somehow moved, though, from the mantle to around Frodo's neck in a necklace, and so starts telling Frodo the story of the One Ring's origin. From chapter 3 onwards, Frodo, under the pretense of moving to Crick Hollow, begins the very long walk with his friends Sam and cousin Merry. It is while taking shortcuts through the forest, though, and the woods that they first notice the Black Riders. Seemingly blind, they sniff their way closer and closer to the hobbits. Luckily, a band of elves comes nearby and scare off the riders with some strange chanting. Every time they think they are free of the riders, they glimpsed in the distance or just on the horizon. I've just realised I haven't put my lights on yet. Hang on. Has that made any difference, I wonder? Time will tell. So yeah, every time they think they're free of the riders, they glimpse them in the distance as a constant threat. So I have to say I am very much enjoying this book so far. Probably even more so than the first time I ever read it, in fact. And then what have I started this week? I'm about halfway through the Lockwood Co book 3, The Hollow Boy by Jonathan Stroud. This should be finished by tomorrow. This so far is a really good read. The team is becoming more and more well-rounded as the series is going on. And so far in this, they are all going about their own investigations and very busy and overworked due to a massive influx of ghosts in London. And all the other bigger companies of paranormal ghost catchers are busy dealing with that, which leaves Lockwood Co being overrun with the day-to-day house hauntings. So that's 2 books finished and 2 books started. I am pretty happy with the start of May. How's your month going so far? Are you reading anything right now that you are absolutely loving and want to tell me about? Just let me know in the comments below. I'd really like to know what you're up to. Otherwise, thank you for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate your company. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and would like to stick around for a little bit longer. I will leave you with a quote from one of the books I have read this week, as I always do. I know you're almost 40, you look almost 30, think you're over 20 and act as though you're barely 10. Make some good book choices this week, my friends, and I hope to see you all again soon. Until next time, bye bye.